This is our reflection terminal emulation program. I'd like to walk you through some of the settings in order to help you have a better experience with your work in the terminal emulation program. Let's start by clicking on the Setup button. Under Terminal, there's a couple of things we want to take a look at. You probably want to select the highest level of emulation here, so it'd be VT400 7-bit or 8-bit. I normally pick 7-bit. Under Emulation, what you may want to do is change or set your terminal setting to VT340. Keyboard, this is a debate between the Unix and the VMS and the IBM mainframers. In the VMS environment, we're looking at wanting to have the backspace key send the delete character. And that's different than Unix systems where we're sending the backspace. And pretty much nothing else to change here. Tabs, you can adjust if you like. I normally leave this be. Graphics. Turns out that we want to make sure that we are emulating a VT340 terminal. And this checkbox here you want to uncheck, Graphics Output Cursor. Turns out that about 15% of the drawing speed of the system is consumed by putting a little sprite on the screen so you can see where the cursor is being drawn at this present time. When you're done with these settings, you can click OK. Let's come back to Setup and take a look at Display. Under Display, we have some options here. One of the ones I like to do is add a ~H, and that will show you on the top line of the window what server you're connected to. You may have more than one VMS server in your place, or you may have VMS and Unix, so this is a friendly thing to let you know what you've got connections to. Under Screen, one of the things I like to do is change the memory blocks. This sets up a scroll back buffer, so as stuff scrolls off the top of your screen you can come back to it. And the default is 9 blocks. We like to set this up to 16. That allows you to catch hundreds or perhaps even more than 1,000 lines of log. Fonts, I pretty much leave this be. The fonts that come with reflection work pretty well, and they automatically resize, so as you drag the window around and change its size, they'll follow. Colors, some people like to change the colors of the text, so you may want to consider changing this. So you can see here that I've made my text green with a black background. When you're done with these, you can click here, File, and Save Settings, and that'll make these changes permanent for the next time you launch the reflection program. Now that we have the basic settings for reflection defined, let's log into our VMS server. During the course I'm going to have a couple of different VMS machines I work with. Today let's start working with a machine called Bobcat. Bobcat's an open VMS system, and I get a splash screen like this. I'm connecting by TCP/IP, so when I entered the machine name on the previous dialog box, it took me here. The dialog box and the machine name that you see may be slightly different. Your system manager for VMS will know what this is. Anyway, if you talk long enough, this will time out, so the terminal tries to protect the operating system. I'm going to log in as the administrative user for Pi. Your system manager probably has given you a username and password to use, so you should use what they've given you here. I'm going to type my password, and I'm logged into OpenVMS. One of the things you may want to do now is save your settings to a special file so you can easily open this next time you use reflection. So I can click on Save As, and I might call my settings Bobcat, and then next time I want to connect to the Bobcat computer, I can use that as a shortcut. Once I'm here, there's another settings screen that we may want to take a look at, and that's this one here called File Transfer. One of the things that you're sooner or later going to want to do is move files from your PC to the Windows environment or vice versa. Perhaps you downloaded something from the OSI support site, a patch or something. So let's come here to File Transfer Setup and click on WRQ. And a few things to check or change here. The default setting for frame size is 512 bytes. If you're on a LAN that's directly giving you connection to the Pi server, you may want to make that as fast as you can. However, if you're dialed up, you may want to try a slower setting or a slower setting if you're having trouble with errors and communication failures. However, if you change the speed down to much less than 128 and it's still not working, then you've got some other problem you need to work on. Anyway, I'm going to set this back up because I'm on the LAN with Bobcat. Transfer link. There were several different versions of the file transfer program for reflection, and the file transfer program for reflection is actually divided into two parts, part of which lives on the VMS system and part lives in your PC. We found that compatibility, especially over dial-up links, works very well if you use 7-bit instead of 8-bit. So the newer programs working with the older programs have got some incompatibility in the 8-bit mode. And then lastly, Walker, Richer & Quinn has given us permission to redistribute their file transfer program with the Pi product. As a result, during the installation of Pi or PiNet, you'll find that there's a VaxLink 2 program present in your sysdollar system directory. This VaxLink 2 program is the file transfer, the VMS side, for reflection. Even though it's called VaxLink, if your platform is Alpha, this will be the correct program, or if it's Vax, it'll be the correct program. At this point then you can click OK, and you want to come back here and remember to save your settings, so they'll be there next time. Now you're ready to use the reflection program.